The format this evening, obviously, as per usual, our speaker, whom I shall introduce in one moment, will speak for probably about 45 minutes, and a comfort break, a refreshment break, so 15 minutes that you go across there and back again, and then continue afterwards for within reason as long as it takes, because I think it could be quite an interesting talk. I understand that our speaker is going to talk on aeroplanes to start with, and then after the break on the Falklands. Cracking photo of City of Lincoln, Papa Alpha 474. So we're talking tech speak now. But anyway, without further ado, our speaker this evening is Barry Puillen. And Barry's come a fair way. He's come down the A1 from the other side of Stamford to speak to us tonight. So quite looking forward to this. I know a lot of us not only interested in classic cars, but in classic aeroplanes as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Barry Puillen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Blame Rob. Right, this is the first time I've done all these talks. Rob convinced me that I should. He said I know lots of insignificant little things that people might enjoy, so I hope you do. I'm going to start off, because I haven't got a cartoon, I'm going to start off with something different. By the way, while I'm getting this sorted out, I joined the Air Force, the real Air Force, after leaving training in 1967. I lived for 29 years on Vulcans and Harriers, mainly. A few transport aircraft thrown in the middle, but mainly Vulcans and Harriers. Vulcans was 9 Squadron 617, Gunbuster. Thoroughly enjoyed every minute. But I'd like to have been on this. This would have been good. If Rob's computer would work.
So when to start? Okay. Speaking? Yeah. On the 5th of March 1936, the Spitfire prototype K5054 made its first ever flight with the Supermarine Works at East Lynn, Southern England, heralding the start of a legend that is just as powerful today as it was during those dark years of World War II.
There you go. I don't know what's happened with that thing there, by the way. It's there you go. Yeah, that was in place for Tom and Jerry. I thought you might. Okay, on to the presentation pictures. You saw the first one anyway. That's been up there for a long time. Oh, come on. It was working. There. The Lancaster, forerunner of the Vulcan. Believe it or not, there's only 10 years between the last Lancaster leaving and the Vulcan starting. Can you believe that? The Vulcan was actually in design sort of at the end of the war. The Vulcan design was on the table. They knew what they were going to do then. They needed the Vulcan, they needed the Victor, and they needed the Valiant. Because we needed the nuclear deterrent. The Vulcan was the one. The main one. I won't say the Victor didn't do its part, it did. The Valiant one it didn't, because it failed. Had a big problem with its main spar. And there they are. Valiant at the bottom, the Vulcan in the middle, and the Victor at the top. The Vulcan there wasn't one of the original ones. The original Vulcan had a straight reed edge to the wing. They found out that it wasn't very good at a straight reed edge. The prototype that they used, the Ferry Delta, that they did a lot of the trials on like a small-scale Vulcan, and that had a straight wing and it worked. The larger the aircraft, then you did the dog leg on the wing. It gives it much better handling and much better performance. Big engines. That was before the days of health and safety at air shows. That's when you could really display. That was, as you can see, that was a straight lead ledge. I think that was taken in 1950 something at Farnborough. And in the original white colour scheme, which was anti-flash for the nuclear bombers, they all had that at the time. And anybody recognised that the aircraft in the background on the ground there was mechanics, which is unusual in having a contra-rotating propeller at the front. Two propellers moving in different directions. Same on the Shackleton. 3 Vulcans in line stern, beautiful aeroplanes, absolutely gorgeous, but pig to work on. Trust me, they were. If any of you know electrics at all, they were all soldered joint Plessy joints. And if you had a problem, it was always in the middle. I took this photograph. I'll tell you the ones that I did take. When I say I didn't take, if I don't say anything, I didn't take it. But this was at Scampton. I knew the Vulcan was coming over, and I was near the victor. I thought, I wonder. Very old camera, so I'm sorry about the quality. But it turned out quite well. Turned out very well indeed. I don't know the numbers, no idea. At night, this is where they spent a lot of their time, just sat on the ground, waiting for war. Fortunately, we never had to use them. But they were equipped up until the end of the 60s, the end of 1969, I believe, we lost the nuclear deterrent to the submarines. But before then, the Vulcan and the Victor carried the Blue Steel standoff cruise missile, forerunner of the new cruise missile. And they had a very, very good inertial navigation system and 590-mile range after being dropped from the Vulcan, and they could hit the target within 100 metres. Sorry, 100 yards, that's quite properly, 100 yards. This was before metres were invented. So very good. In fact, the inertial nav system in the missile was so good that the aircraft used to plug into it when we were flying, because it was better than what I had in the Vulcan. Servicing, any of you Doctor Who fans? Oh, you must have been at one time. Do you all know what TARDIS stands for? Time, Relative Dimensional Space? Not really. We had it first, and it was a transportable avionic repair diagnostic and information system. During the takeoff roll, that is on takeoff, believe it or not. It's really motoring, but during the takeoff roll, the pilots used to select the undercarriage up. Now the weight on wheels switched, so the wheels weren't going to retract until it actually lifted off the ground, and then they'd retract. So as soon as it was off the ground, up they went, no problem. Can pose a few problems sometimes. We had one pilot who was on detachment in America that he decided to give the Americans a show. So he had 30% fuel, no rear crew, just him and the co-pilot, one rear crew, electronic man. And he took off. Now, the runway where we were, it's a place called Barksdale in Louisiana, has got a hump in the middle. And the B-52s used to come along, go over the hump, and take off sort of way over there somewhere. And if you've seen the B-52 take off on a video, the back end lifts up and then it snags it into the air. This pilot decided to take off before the hump. We saw all the smoke. I thought, it was really, really winding that up before that's a great socket, which we wouldn't do that. He came along, and the aircraft, we saw it go over the sky. It was going up like this, and then it went like that, then it started doing that. So, oh no, he's going to bend it in. It really is. And he reckoned levelled out 100 feet above the ground, which is pretty low for the ball. But the same pilot did the same thing when we left. We got him, but he had a bomb bay full of pool tables and all that. He got up on the runway, and the aircraft went into the air. His wheels retracted, and all of a sudden he started sinking down again. Well, he didn't have enough room to put the wheels back down again. And he actually used the cushion of air that wing gives you to go down the whole length of the runway before he managed to stay in there. He made it, but all the actors were like, oh yeah. Yeah, it's got a pilot. Bruntingthorpe, you've probably all been there. 558. Famous old lady and the Victor. Now, at Bruntingthorpe, 558 used to do taxi runs. Fast taxi runs. Occasionally, very fast taxi runs. And then he used to use aerodynamic braking to slow himself down instead of screaming the chute every time. One day, he did a fast taxi run, aerodynamic braking, he actually flew for 100 yards. Because the main wheels came off the ground. Didn't really get into trouble, it could have done. 558 on Puillen. Nice picture. It's a bit grainy because some of these photographs are sort of from very small photographs that I've had to try and make a decent size. And there's a brake parachute. You can understand why we don't want to stream that every time. I mean, wrapping that up again and plugging it back in into the hole was terrible. On the Vulcan, you see there the air brakes. I've been dying to use this. You've got the air brake there and the air brake underneath. Yeah, you've got two at the top, one on each side. They have just to break up the airflow over everything, which it's the same as you would take the top down on your Morgan and it goes slower. But with the Vulcan, the air brakes are there to slow them down slow them down before he lands actually. Normally by the time he's doing the brake parachute, they'll be in. But the brake parachute lives in a little nacelle above, I think it's like a wash thing at the back if you've ever seen the Vulcan. And inside the wash thing, that's got ECM fans, the electronic countermeasure fans. And they weigh an awful lot. We call them dustbins, because that's just what they look like. They're a dustbin. And they were winched up on a cable, and you didn't stand underneath them. Because now and again cables would break, and you come down on the ground, and that was sort of £100,000 down the drain. A lot of money. Indeed. Now, you look there, and you think, oh, Vulcan's a big aeroplane. The cockpit is very, very small. You've got the pilot and co-pilot sat so they can look out to the front, obviously, they've got to. Somebody's got to look out to the And between them, they've got a console that comes down between their seats, nobody else can get in there. And they're the only people that are going to get out in the event of an accident. Because they've got ejection seats. The rear crew did not have ejection seats. There were plans to fit ejection seats, but cost too much money. Far too much money. The rear crew get out by sliding down into the door. They can open the door, which is in front of the nose wheel. Just about there. The rear crew slide down, grab hold of one of the stanchions, and swing themselves to one side. That's if the nose wheel is down, otherwise you just smash into the nose wheel and die anyway. There have been a few rear crew fatalities. The worst one was like an aircraft that crashed in Malta. I don't like to say pilot error, but instead of doing a roller or a practice approach, the pilot came straight in on a landing and hit the end of the runway that we were building at the time. We were extending it, and he hit the concrete, might be blue bit, with the main wheel, smashed it up through the main spar. The whole thing caught fire and crashed. Unfortunately, the rear crew didn't get out. But another one went in at Spilsby in Lincolnshire, where everybody got out. The pilot did very well to steer it away from the verge before he ejected. It went into the side of the hill. I think the farmer still kept playing compensation now, and made a very little hole. You wouldn't believe how small a hole a Vulcan can make. The only thing left on the outside was one of the main wheels. Everything else was buried in the hill, including the fore engine, and everything else was just fragmented and disappeared. I was on the search party for that because it was carrying secret code books. And believe it or not, this was a horrible time of the year as well. The farmer was just waiting to plough, so we said, you can't plough yet until we search, or get on with it. 3 miles wide and 6 miles back from the impact area. So that's a lot of land. We never found anything. One bit of engine turbines later, I think, that was it. Everything else, no, not it. That was taken at Mildenhall, by the way. Now then. There's a place in Canada called Goose Bay. And it was very cold there, and the hangar floor collapsed. Unfortunately, the Vulcan was taxiing over it at the time, or being towed in at the time. So that's there you see a Vulcan in a very unhappy state that sort of left way down with it. The only way they could get that was completely defuel it, put airbags under the wing, to raise it up enough to put a jack under there, and then do whatever they could to get it back on. It did fly again. It wasn't too bad again. That's another shot at Scampton Air Show. There's actually 5 Vulcans in that picture. You see 3 tails, 1 cockpit, and 1 in the air. That's what we have lots of those. Right, this is where I've got to use this one. He said, I want to know you about this. So, Vulcan cockpit, this is 558's cockpit. Oh, sorry. This is 558's cockpit. And it's very nearly bog standard. That there isn't. That's a state-of-the-art radio system they have. But everything else is as it was when I was on them. The yellow and black handle at the top, right at the top is the brake parachute. The handle below it covers the fire button. Below that you've got doll's eyes that for all sorts of things. They go from black to white, white to black, and sometimes they go striping white and black as well, depending on what they do. That there is control service indicator. In case the pilot doesn't know what his attitude is, at least he knows where his control services are, whether they're down that side or up that side. So, oh well, okay, fair enough. But he's got attitude there. I mean, he's got identical instruments for the pilot and co-pilot, just in case the pilot goes sick. Now, if you notice, it's got very much like a fighter pilot's joystick instead of a wheel. I mean, I'm not one of these things like you see on the Lancaster, it's just joystick and you've got buttons all over it. I mean, you can drop bombs from that as well, from the button on that. But there you go. The engine instruments are in the middle. You've got 4 engines, so you've got 4 sets of instruments. You've got jet black temperature, you've got oil pressure, you've got fuel flow, you've got all sorts. Altimeter, airspeed indicator, compass, attitude indicator, rate of climb and descent. Needs to know that if he's climbing out from takeoff and the rate of climb goes above sort of 2 or 3, then he's going to stall. Rate of climb and descent is very much dependent on speed and where you are in the air. The higher you are, the easier it is to climb. Saying that, it's a very powerful engine, isn't it? But it is cooking it a bit when you see it on air shows, cooking it a lot. The engine start procedure is all down the bottom side here, right side of the pilot seat. We've got an engine start panel. They can start it ordinarily using air pumped in from a hot air supply outside the aircraft. Or you can start them using compressed air. Now, when they were on quick reaction alert, when we were waiting for the 4-minute warning, then the crew could get to a Vulcan and have all 4 Vulcans that were in the runway into the air within 4 minutes. And to start the engines, to hear 16 engines all started at exactly the same time with high pressure air, very noisy. Something like, boom! But like that, 16 times, 10 times louder. And off they go, one after the other into the big cloud of black smoke. Because it's very stressful, I suppose is the word, the crew chief, who was standing outside the aircraft at the time on the end of a long lead, sometimes got a bit carried away. Now, I recall, I never saw it, it is only hearsay, but there's one Vulcan that was on QRA at Scampton, and at Scampton the runway tilts slightly. You go slightly uphill from the QRA. So if the aircraft has got no chocks under and the brakes are off and the engines aren't running, they'll start going backwards. He put his foot there to stop him. That'll never work. He went to hospital. But yeah, there was another time when a Vulcan had an ATC cadet on board. You know, the young lads, young lasses. And they had a problem. One of the engines caught fire at the end of the runway. So they had to abandon the aircraft. No problem, it was on its wheels, it wasn't going anywhere, it was static. Just go down the steps and run away. He went down the steps, run away. His ripcord caught up the steps as he was running away, so his parachute was behind him. Poor lad, he never was that. He's probably air vice marshal now. The rear crew position on the Vulcan, very busy. Now, as I was saying to a couple of you earlier, blessing plugs, that item there, that's the GPI 6. That weighs 112 pounds. I was telling somebody a story about that. I won't tell you because it's very, very naughty. But that's the GPI 6. And the plugs are behind it. You've got to go underneath the table, like this at the back. Awkward, very, very awkward indeed. You're supposed to use a winch to winch it down the door. So you just put it on your knees and inch down. And I cannot tell you what all those instruments are. I really can't. I mean, you've got the bottom navigator in the middle, you've got the air electronics at the right hand side, and the bloke at the other side is the navigation and bombing control guy, NDS. And he's got a radar screen in front of him, and that's what he uses for his radar bombing. So he would have been a very important man for the Falklands operation, I imagine. But I mean, you can see how old it is. I mean, those lights have 30 watt bulbs in. Very, very complex. They're awful. Absolutely awful. It's very bad to work on. Very much there to work on. You just couldn't get anywhere without having to remove a lot of other stuff. But I'll go back tomorrow. There you go, that's what it's built for the conventional role. When they lost the blue steel, that's one of the few photographs I've ever seen showing 21 £1,000 bomb.
I've got that on paper.
That was its full bomb load.
I've got that picture of it.
Yeah. And there was once that occasionally they used to do firepower demonstrations. And they were doing firepower demonstrations with the army down near Salisbury somewhere, I don't know, wherever the Rangers are down there. And the Vulcan dropped 21 £1,000 bombs as part of the firepower demonstration to blow up a tractor. Overkill. You got it. Yeah, you got it. Tractor disappeared. But very impressive. But anyway, that's the Vulcan. Back to square one. Does anybody have any questions at all, without going too technical, because it's a long time ago, my memory is rubbish, about Vulcan? Has anyone got, or would anybody like to see the slide again and have it explained a bit better?
Just one thing actually, Barry. The photograph with the Vulcan taken at Milton Hall with the chute was X-ray 426.
It was 426.
That's the aircraft there at Southend, I believe, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I can't remember which one it is that they've got at Newark. I know they've got Vulcan at Newark as well. But it's all a bit sad. I mean, 607 will stay at Waddington forever. I mean, that did the only sort of war effort that the Vulcan ever did. It's the only time I ever flew in combat as such. And it was actually fitted, believe it or not, with sidewinder missile, the Vulcan. I don't know if that one was 607, but they could fit the Vulcan with sidewinder missile. And they could also fit it with Skybolt, which was supposed to be the blue steel replacement. Never took off. I took that credit, didn't it? It never happened. Never happened, this Skybolt. Yes?
On the Vulcan, was it the elevators and ailerons, etc., were they all controlled by electric motors and wires, or was it a hydraulic?
They were powered flying control units.
They were
powered flying control units.
So
they sent a signal to operate, but they actually operated with hydraulics. Which is why, if they had a hydraulic problem, that the Vulcan was in deep trouble. They did have a ram air turbine, which they could drop. That was in the starboard wing route, and that could drop out. And that provided emergency DC and AC power, but not hydraulic. They reckon that the hydraulics if they had a hydraulic failure, the hydraulic pressure in the system would be enough to get them to the nearest airfield. We never had to prove it, because the only time we had a really big problem, everything went and no aeroplane. They did lose a few Vulcans, unfortunately. Olympus. The Olympus 201 engines, which 558 had, and the 301s were the more powerful ones, and they were the ones that were used by the low-level bomber role, and the 201s ended up being used by the aircraft that remained in a reconnaissance role. Yeah, I was thinking of something else there when you said that.
Well, it seemed that
Straight out of my head.
was it similar to Concorde, that sort of operating?
The Concorde had a 501.
Yeah.
They actually strapped the Concorde engine underneath the Vulcan flight tester. I mean, to go slightly off track there, I worked at Hamburg for a while on the A380 build, and they had an A340, and they had a 380 engine under one wing to trial the 380 engine on an ordinary airliner, and that looked weird. That really did look weird.
Actually, that the Vulcan with the Concorde engine on it, I saw that at Farnborough.
Yeah?
They flew it at Farnborough.
I never saw that.
And you went vertical,
Yeah.
came down the runway, the aircraft
Yeah.
cleaned it up, put it on reheat, went
Yeah,
straight
yeah.
up and rolled into the cloud.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
Gobsmacked. That's the one thing that they never did with the Vulcan, was put reheat on any engine.
Yeah.
They never did.
Reheat on the one underneath, but the Concorde.
Yeah. And there's so many things about the Vulcan that keep coming into my head and going away again. And I think, shall I mention this, shall I mention this? There's a lot of things really that you just took as read when you were working on them. Like working outside in sort of below freezing, taking out what the true airspeed unit, that was mounted in one of the wing groups. And that's so many bolts and screws holding it in, it was unbelievable. And when your hands are freezing, that's when you really don't like the Vulcan. You hate the damn thing. When you're on guard, you hate it. Because you're invariably on guard for 2 hours at a time and it's raining. And you're not allowed to stand under the wing when you're on guard. You're really not. QRA, quick reaction alert, you want it for a week at a time. On 12-hour shifts, 12 on, 12 off for a week. And you have to be ready for the 4-minute warning. You were the ground crew, the pilots slept in their uniforms, they're ready to go. Virtually with the boots on. But there was one RAF policeman, in fact, that he lost it. He did lose it, because these aircraft were guarded, seriously guarded, and it was live weapons. And this policeman took his gun out one day, loaded it, because we kept them loaded, but he loaded it and shot holes in the fin of a Vulcan that had a blue steel missile. Didn't last very long.
They were dogs as well, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Big, serious looking dogs.
We actually wrote a song to the tune of, what's it? Tell you what we can sing about that dance, floral dance. Yeah, we did a song to the tune of that, all about Garden Vulcan, not very complimentary. But getting back to blue steel missile, just one little anecdote I will say before I leave the Vulcan. The missile was powered by a stuff called high test peroxide, which is very, very, very dangerous, very volatile. And during your during your sort of initial run around the camp, when you first arrive at a new camp, you go around see all the sections. And we went to the what's called the Gin Palace. Don't know why, but that's where they serviced the blue steel missiles. And very, very clean rooms. You weren't allowed in there, but you looked through the window. Now, all these missiles lined up. At that time, I was 17. I didn't know what these missiles were for. I didn't realise that each one of them could wipe out a whole city and then some. And so we just saw these missiles. They're nice. They're so smooth and white, beautiful. And they had trays of stuff in front, and they had a tray of paraffin, a tray of petrol, a tray of water, and a tray of high test peroxide. And they dropped an oily rag into each one. They dropped an oily rag into the water, nothing. Dropped it into petrol, nothing. Dropped it into paraffin, nothing. Dropped it into HTP, self-igniting. After about 30 seconds. This dirty, oily rag is self-ignited. That's how dangerous it was. But they didn't know that something had happened at the time.